Pleasant day. My name is Tiang Reyes Orzano, together with my group, Chera Magdaraog, Donna Claire Celebre, and Jason Paniagua. And today, we will present the type of regression. First, linear regression. So what is linear regression? Linear regression is a statistical method used to model the relationship between a dependent variable and one or more independent variables by fitting a linear equation to observed data. The main goal is to predict the dependent variable based on the independent variable. When is linear regression used? Linear regression is used when there is a linear relationship between the dependent and independent variables. The dependent variables is continuous. The independent variables can be continuous or categorical. We want to predict outcomes or understand the relationship between variables. How do you use linear regression? To use linear regression, gather data with one dependent variable and one or more independent variables. Plot the data to check for a linear relationship. Fit a linear model using methods like least square method. Evaluate the model's accuracy using metrics like R-squared or mean squared error or MSE. Use the model for predictions or insight. What are some applications where can use linear regression? First, predicting sales based on advertising budgets. Second, estimating house prices based on futures like area, location, and number of rooms. Forecasting employee salaries based on experience and qualifications. Determining the relationship between study hours and test scores. And last, describe a real scenario where you can use linear regression. Scenario: predicting a student's average grades based on a study habits or lifestyle factors. Independent variables: number of hours of study per week, allowance per week in PHP scale, TikTok account yes or no, nominal, year level ordinal, dependent variables, average grade scale. You can use linear regression to determine how study habits, financial allowance, social media, and year level affect a student's grades.
Good day, ma'am. Welcome to my video on ordinal regression. Today we'll explore what ordinal regression is, when it's used, how to implement it, and some real-world applications. So, what is ordinal regression? Ordinal regression is a type of statistical analysis used when the dependent variable is ordinal, meaning it has a natural order but the distances between the categories are not uniform. For example, think of a survey responses like poor, fair, good, and excellent. While we can rank their responses, we can't quantify the exact difference between them. When is ordinal regression used? Ordinal regression is particularly useful in situations where you want to predict an outcome that has ordered categories. It's commonly used in fields like social sciences, healthcare, and marketing. For instance, it can help analyze customer satisfaction ratings or health status assessments. How to use ordinal regression. Number 1, identify your variables. Determine your dependent variables, the outcome you want to predict, and dependent variable, or the predictors. Number 2, choose the right model. Common models include the proportional odds models and the adjacent category model. Number 3, interpret the results. Analyze the coefficient to understand the relationship between your independent variables and the ordered outcome. Applications of ordinal regression. Ordinal regression can be applied in various fields like number 1, healthcare. In assessing patient health status, example, poor, fair, good, excellent. Number 2, education. Evaluating student performance, example, fail, pass, merit, distinction. Marketing, understanding customer satisfaction levels. Example, very dissatisfied, dissatisfied, neutral, satisfied, and very satisfied. And real-world scenario. The restaurant collects data from a sample of customers who have dined at the restaurant over a month. Each customer fills out a survey rating their satisfaction and the independent variables listed above. Using ordinal regression, the restaurant can analyze how the independent variables or service quality, food quality, ambience, wait time, and price satisfaction influence the independent variable or customer satisfaction rating. This analysis will help the restaurant identify which factors have the most significant impact on customer satisfaction and guide improvements in those areas. Thank you.
Good morning, ma'am. My name is Donna Claire Celebre, and I will representing the logistic regression. What is logistic regression? Logistic regression is a statistical technique that analyzes the relationship between one or more independent variables and a binary dependent variable. Essentially, predicting the probability of a specific outcome like yes or no, success or failure based on those independent variables. When is logistic regression is used? It is used when a statistical method used to predict the probability of a binary outcome like yes or no or success or failure based on one or more independent variables. How do you use logistic regression? It is used when you input your data with independent variables and a binary outcome. Fit the model to the data and then use it to predict the probability of the outcome for new observation. What are some applications where you can use the logistic regression? It is the predicting whether a customer will buy a product. It is yes or no. Determining if a patient has a disease. It will be positive or negative. Assessing the likelihood loan default. It is default or no default. And classifying emails as spam or not spam. Real world scenario using logistic regression. Scenario: predicting whether a student will pass or fail a course based on their study habits and attendance. Dependent variable. Sample: pass or fail. It is the binary outcome. The data type will be categorical. Example: 1 for pass and 0 for fail. Independent variables. Number 1, hours studied per week. The data type will be continuous. It is a numeric. Number 2, attendance rate. Data type continuous. Example, percentage. It is 0 to 100%. Number 3, previous exam score. Data type continuous. It is numeric. Example, scores out of 100. Number 4, participation in studies group. The data type will be categorical. Example, 1 for yes and 0 for no. That's all, and thank you.
Hello, good evening. I am Jason Paniagua and I am going to present multiple linear regression. What is multiple linear regression? Multiple linear regression is a statistical method used to examine the relationship between one independent variable outcome and two or more independent variables predictors. It predicts the value of the dependent variable based on the combined influence of the independent variables. Multiple linear regression is a statistical technique that analyzes how multiple independent variables influence a single dependent variable. It helps predict the dependent variable's value using the combined effect of the predictors. When is multiple linear regression used? When the dependent variable is continuous, example, grades, income, height. When you have two or more independent variables that may influence the dependent variable. To identify and quantify the strength of the relationship between the dependent variables and each independent variable. To make prediction about future outcome based on known values of predictors. How do you use multiple linear regression? Collect data. Gather data for the dependent and independent variables. Fit the model. Use statistical software or tools like Python, R, or Excel to create the regression model. Analyze result. Look at the regression coefficients to determine how much each independent variable affects the dependent variable. Validate the model. Ensure that the model meets key assumption like linearity, independence, and no multicollinearity. Application of multiple linear regression. Education. Predicting student performance based on attendance, study hours, and family income. Business. Analyzing how advertising spend, products, price, and market competition influence sales. Healthcare. Understanding how diet, exercise, and medication adherence affect patients' health outcomes. Economics. Modeling how inflation, unemployment, and GDP growth impact stock prices. Real-world scenario using multiple linear regression. This regression model predicts a student average scale using the number of study hours and weekly allowance. Continuous variables, TikTok account, presence, binary nominal variables, and year level ordinal variable. Analyzing how each factors impacts academic performance. Scenario, predicting a student average grade, dependent variables and its target, grade average, scale, independent variables, predictors, number of hours of study per week, scale, allowance per week in PHP or peso, scale, TikTok account, if yes or no, nominal, and year level, ordinal. That's all. Thank you.